Hello and welcome to the Fibonacci video for Friday, October 27th. This is David, and let's start digging in. Now, we talked earlier in the week about the S&P 500, and we covered the Voodoo line's roadmap towards 4083. That still remains intact, right? And staying below both of these snow lines at 4518, 4352 keeps the door open. And then between that 4352 level and the 4083 fire line, staying below the 4249 skyline, and particularly this 4185 skyline, again keeps the focus down. We had some bounces today. None of them got anywhere near that 4185 level. That doesn't mean we don't test it or even forestall a visit to 4083, but we are getting incrementally closer. Now, we also covered the fact that that a break of symmetry may suggest that this advance is over. And I just reference that and remind us of that because we're going to contrast that with the patterns in the NAS in a little bit, which are not quite as bearish, but certainly a lot of bearishness here in the S&P 500. We cited the fact that the this blue line here, right, the 4101 and 54-cent line is the spot where this action down from September 1st is 161.8% of this July to August decline. That is also notable because even though we'll cover the Elliott wave possibilities here in Sunday night's Elliott wave dispatch, right? Achieving that level makes it more likely that this move is in a downtrend. We also cited the same thing on a break of the swing high from February. And then we also have this December high, which would also do a tremendous amount of damage to any any way that we view this move up as a trend move. So we've continued in the additional few days of decline to do some real damage, getting ever so close to that 4101 level within a handful of points here today. And then the other level, right, this is 4101 and 54 cents, 54 cents above 4101. If you go a few pennies below, it's sort of I think 4190 something cents. So a few pennies below 4101, you get to this December high. And once we get really below all of the major highs on the way up, without this advance looking like a five-wave trend move, it really suggests to the downside. So from a levels basis, there's a lot of meaning to going just a few points lower, and then another 20 points below that really does some damage below the Voodoo fire line. So that continues to be what I'm going to watch here. It would take support above 4352 to change that picture, although getting above 4185 and then 4250 would start to be some warnings that that the bear case was not unfolding as expected. But as I mentioned, it is a bit of a different picture in the NAS. We have certainly come off here in the NAS, and that scaling is not what we want to see. So let's clean this up, right? So we're well off of last year's lows here in the NAS, right? We head up and pull back, and then this subsequent action to the upside is much longer, much stronger. And if we compare things to to these December swing highs. Remember, we were almost down. We were within a handful of points of that 4101 level, which is the December high in the S&P. The NAS is nowhere near that. The NAS is nowhere near the February high, which we took out a while ago here in the S&P. So, while the S&P doesn't look like it's a trend move up at all, the NAS looks a whole lot more like 1, 2, 1, 2, off to the races. And while we might be able to say that this little pullback that we're having, and at least little by comparison to the S&P, right? If we kind of measure up from the March low, a little more than a 38.2%, getting to a 38.2% level allows it to still be reasonable as a fourth wave. If it's a fourth wave of the move up from late December, then 38.2 retrace is a little bit below us. So there's not as much from a pure fib perspective to give us concern about the NAS. What what we can look at is the largest decline since last year's low, and it's this December high to December low move. And you can see that the NAS has broken symmetry, at least by a little bit, right? So Wednesday, we poked below it. Yesterday and today, we're solidly below. Today, the NAS closed above yesterday's low, but still roughly down. So here's what I'm looking at. Notice where the high was earlier this year, right up at our Voodoo tree line. And then coming down, we've now in the last 2 days broken solidly below that tree line. So long as we can stay below that level, there's a path downwards. Don't get me wrong. The shape of the move up from last year's low looks far more constructive in the NAS than it does in the S&P 500. But if we take this from a pure Voodoo roadmap perspective, staying below both tree lines leaves the door open to a consequential retest of the 11,830 fire line. Back to that 11,830 fire line is a whole lot lower, right? 78.6 retrace of this leg up, roughly similar against the against last year's low, but it'll be a little shallower retrace. But that again would be a warning that this advance might be over. Now there's a long way down between where we are now and that 11,830 level. So I'm not saying we're going there, right? What we would need to see is is continued resistance below this tree line, and for that to expand and take prices further down to below these snow lines. So tree line is at 14,382. The first snow line down is at 13,407, and then another one at 12,804. So those are levels I'm watching. Obviously, the one that I'm going to be fixated on most closely is this 14,382. Below that keeps the NAS under pressure, and if we're really turning down, I mean, it would be tremendously unusual to start a long-term downtrend in the S&P 500, not have the NAS go with it. So I want to confirm that by seeing ideally the Nas hold under 14,382, or if it does bounce, to get back under it pretty quickly. So that's what I'll be watching as far as important levels here as we head into next week. I hope you found it useful, and I will see you at the next update.
Hey, David here with Simpler Trading. Thanks for taking a few minutes to watch this video. I hope you found it useful. And if you did, please help us out. Click the like button. You can also add your comments below. We love to read those and respond to them. You can also click the bell icon. That will alert you whenever we have new and updated videos. And if you want to watch us trade in real time with our own money, you can visit simplertrading.com to learn how to sign up. Until I see you again, as always, good trading, and we'll see you at the next video.